I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. Washtenaw County Parks and Rec make enjoying our area parks a fun, interactive experience the entire year. Whether it's sunny or snowy, the parks are always ready to be explored.
Rolling Hills County Park is home to some majestic nature areas, but there's also an elusive creature that has inhabited the local wildlife.
Eddie the Yeti, he's a little rambunctious. He likes to get out and cause a little trouble around the park. He loves to do activities in the snow or in the summertime. He likes to ski, snowboard, climb trees, and lots of other activities he can do here at Rolling Hills County Park. Eddie and his family have been living out here for years, and we thought we'd let people know, give them the opportunity to come out, see if they can find him.
Catching a glimpse of Eddie is no simple task.
Today we came out to do the scavenger hunt, the hunt for the Yeti. It's an outdoor scavenger hunt, and they have prizes inside and hot chocolate and cookies and clues hidden all around the park.
You start out with a map that will show you where to go around the trails. We have clues lining the trail so you don't get lost, and then you have to hike throughout the park to the different locations to find Eddie the Yeti and his family.
Even though it's a little bit cold, it's still nice to be outside. It gives the kids a fun activity to do. It keeps them engaged, and it's really nice to enjoy the parks here.
Hey, careful, please.
Snow is in the air, and as soon as those white flakes start to accumulate, there's some need to know info for residents and business owners. Learn more about snow removal guidelines in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hello, my name is Robert Keller with the City of Ann Arbor. Winter means snow and ice, and that makes it hard for people to get around the city, especially pedestrians. So as a resident and business, you need to do your part and help clear your sidewalks of ice and snow. What does that mean? Well, for residents, it means any snow accumulation greater than 1 inch has to be cleared within 24 hours. If you're a business, any snow accumulation by 6 a.m. needs to be cleared by noon the same day. So help do your part, clear your adjacent sidewalks, crosswalk ramps, and any concrete bus stops that may be adjacent to your property, and help make it easier for people to get around the great city of Ann Arbor.
Alzheimer's and dementia are devastating diagnoses that affect the entire family. You have to watch as your loved one drifts further and further away from the person you once knew. There is an organization here to make the transition more seamless as these diseases progress. Joining me is Michele Phalen, Program Coordinator for the Alzheimer's Association Greater Michigan Chapter. Welcome to the show, Michele.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Michele, why don't you tell me a little bit about what the Alzheimer's Association actually does to help people?
Yes. So the Alzheimer's Association, our vision is a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementia. So we have a few different things we do. One is that we focus on providing care and supportive services to all those affected by dementia. Although we're the Alzheimer's Association, we have expanded to focus on some of those other dementias, such as Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, and the many others. So we provide education programs, support groups to those who are currently being affected. We also try to raise awareness through things such as our Walk to End Alzheimer's to try to get the word out there so people know what Alzheimer's is. We have other supportive services such as our helpline, we have care consultation services. We also have an advocacy team that really works to try to fight for the voice and the rights of those with dementia, and they work with federal and state lawmakers to try to secure funding for dementia research and care. And the last factor we do is really focus on research. So we fund over 590 research projects in 31 countries worldwide because our goal is to try to find a cure or some sort of prevention for this disease.
When you mentioned, you are now taking on more patients, with different kinds of dementia and stuff. What is the big difference between someone that has Alzheimer's and someone that has dementia?
That is a great question and one of the most popular questions that we receive. So what we like to say is that dementia is a general term or like an umbrella term, and it really just is a describer word for those group of symptoms that include things like memory loss. But there's always a disease that causes that dementia. So you have like Alzheimer's disease, like I said, frontotemporal disease. Sometimes you see dementia in people with Parkinson's disease. And so those Alzheimer's disease is just a pretty much a type of dementia, and it's the most common. We see about 60 to 80% of dementia cases are caused by Alzheimer's.
Is it something that's hard to diagnose? I actually, my father-in-law who passed away last year, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, but he ended up having cancer. But there were talks that it could have been Lewy body dementia, and we never got to that point because he passed away before that. But it seems like it can be sort of a hard thing to diagnose sometimes.
It definitely can be. A lot of the times, it seems like it's kind of like a process of elimination when you go to the doctor to try to figure out what it can be. There are some things you can do. One of the things is just to have a memory test with your doctor. There are some tests where there's like the clock test, there's some where memorizing words, things like that, just to detect whether you have any sort of memory issues. You can also sometimes do brain scans or MRIs, which show maybe the brain shrinking, because that's what happens in Alzheimer's disease. And then just other symptoms, you kind of might start to develop, behavioral issues or changes in your communication. And again, if you rule out some of those other diseases that could be causing that, or, low blood sugar, that's not a problem. It's likely that it could be Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. And they are working actually currently on using a blood test to help to diagnose. That has not been approved by the FDA yet. There's still a lot of research that needs to be done, but we're hoping, in the next several years, maybe that could be a tool to make sure that people are diagnosed a little bit more easily.
I mean, you mentioned that obviously you guys hope to find a cure because this is such a debilitating disease that happens to people, and it's something you never want to see anyone you love go through because you're losing them right in front of your eyes. It's different than them just dying. They die in a different way. Is there ways that, like, let's say you or I could work on maybe preventing this from happening to us when we get older?
Yes, so there is a lot of research out there on how to prevent Alzheimer's. Um, it is important to say that none of these things are guarantees. They mostly just will reduce your risk. And what we like to say is what is healthy for your heart is healthy for your brain. So there's four main things that we like to focus on. The first one is physical activity. And so getting your heart rate up, trying to do some sort of cardiovascular exercise at least a few times a week, or even just walking, that can really help making sure you're getting oxygen to your brain, and that could reduce your risk of dementia. Second is again just a healthier diet. You want to make sure there's a lot of research, on diets. So just making sure that you're getting those necessary nutrients. A lot of people suggest the Mediterranean diet, which is very heavy on beans and nuts and vegetables, a lot of leafy greens, things like that. The third thing that we really encourage is social engagement, which is a challenge right now, of course, with the pandemic going on, but just being able to interact with other people in some sort of setting, even if it is just virtually or having conversations with people, definitely really beneficial. And also just doing activities that really stimulate your cognitive ability. So whether we often think of, reading or doing puzzles, but really anything that challenges you. So if you want to start doing woodworking or playing chess or just figuring out a new hobby, playing an instrument, all of those things cause you to work your brain in a different way, and that can help to fend off dementia.
Those are some great tips. And you mentioned that social interaction aspect of it. And on your own website, it's mentioned that recently it shows that 17%, there's been a 17% increase in Alzheimer's and dementia deaths compared to the last 5 years. Do you find it is because of that lack of social interaction that we've been able to have this year?
I think we're still that's something we're gonna be researching for years to come, but you definitely correct. As of October of this year, we saw at least 30,000 more deaths than expected. And I think it could very well be likely due to that. There are a lot of people who are living in long-term care communities and they can't see people. And we notice when there's significant changes in the lives of people living with memory loss, that can cause a lot of cognitive decline. So it definitely is a possibility. increased stress, that's not good for anybody. So if you have a lot of stress from not seeing anybody, it definitely can put you in a worse position regarding your health, unfortunately.
Well, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back with more from Michele Phalen. And she's going to tell us about the services that are available to anyone right now during the pandemic because the Alzheimer's Association is here to help. And we'll be right back. We're back with Michele. Michele, you were just talking about, it's been sort of a devastating year for a lot of us, but people living with memory disease, it's been a, more devastating, I would say. But the thing is that the Alzheimer's Association is here to help. So you had mentioned at the beginning of our interview that you have a lot of different services available for people. And why don't you talk about, let's say, for instance, you have the 24/7 helpline. What are people calling about? What can you help them with?
Yeah, so you can call a 24/7 helpline basically for anything related to dementia. So we have people calling when they have challenging behaviors that the person with dementia is exhibiting. They have no idea what to do, how to communicate with somebody when they're experiencing those changes in communication as the disease progresses. We have people who call who just want a list of neurologists in their area because they maybe want to get an official diagnosis or get a second opinion. We also have people, call for lists of long-term care communities. We have all of that information accessible to people. And another thing is you can call to speak with a master's level clinician. So we always have people available to talk through an issue. Sometimes you're on the phone for an hour trying to figure out a care plan, and we have 200 languages available too. So it's really available to anybody who is wanting to call.
I was actually sort of curious if you've seen more Alzheimer's patients staying home with their families because people are more concerned about not being able to see them in a care facility.
Yeah, so I don't know the exact numbers. I think it does just depend on the family. We have heard from some who were living in, like a nursing home or assisted living and things like that. And as the pandemic kind of started in the spring or sometime throughout, they just got too worried of them being in those communities because unfortunately, a large number of cases and deaths have occurred in those communities just because there's so many people living there. So they have brought their people they're caring for home or just because they want to be able to interact with those individuals. On the other hand, there are some people who've realized they just cannot provide the necessary care to that person. As the disease progresses, it becomes nearly impossible for one person to provide all that care. And so they figure, they're going to be in a much better place in a long-term care community. They're going to have better care. I'm going to be a better family member, a better caregiver because I'm not spread so thinly. So it's kind of a balance between those two.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, with a diagnosis like this, eventually you're going to end up in a care facility. Otherwise, you're not getting the care that you need. I mean, I know I couldn't. I mean, you say it right now, you couldn't do it by yourself. You would need like a community of help. So, I mean, that speaking to that, are there ways that you guys are keeping people safe, like caregivers and stuff, with the pandemic?
Yes, definitely. We have switched all of our programs to a virtual setting. So we don't want to convene anybody because we want to make sure everybody is safe, especially because they're caring for people who are some of the most vulnerable in our population. So we have all of our education programs, our support groups, our social engagement programs, all held virtually. So that means a lot of them are held via Zoom, but we also have dial-in options because we know technology is a challenge and not everybody's really comfortable with Zoom, or you might not have access to the internet. So there's really opportunities for anybody to access the resources that they need so they can learn more about behavior, so that they can connect with other caregivers during this time, because we know there's a lot of unique challenges that are being brought up during this pandemic.
I would like to say maybe you should tell people why they should take advantage of these support and education groups, because I think a lot of times when you're dealing with something like this, you don't think of yourself as a person that needs the support. You think of the patient needs the support. But a lot of times it's the extended family that needs the support to understand what's going on.
Exactly. And I can tell you from firsthand experience with my family, we didn't take advantage of a lot of these things. And I really regret that because they are incredibly helpful. So in terms of education programs, we have programs on over 10 different topics, and they really do teach you techniques to communicate. They teach you what to expect in each stage of caregiving. And it's so interesting to see when you're giving a program, the light bulbs go off in people's heads to be like, that's why they're acting like that. That's why they're exhibiting aggressive behavior, because they're hungry, because the lighting's too dark, because they're scared, whatever it may be. For support groups, I know that not everybody, was necessarily the person who would seek out a support group all the time. There's just some people who don't really like to be that open about feelings. But they're a great resource again, because a lot of the times you hear from people and say, I can't talk about this with my friends or my family members because they just don't understand what I'm going through. So to be able to actually talk with somebody who knows exactly what you're going through, who might have already gone through some of those things that you're dealing with, or maybe caregiving for somebody later on, they can provide a lot of useful information to you that makes life a lot easier. And if you're worried about attending a group, you can just attend one and just kind of sit and listen. You don't have to say anything. And I can guarantee that you'll learn something new after going to an hour and a half meeting.
Is there anything else you'd like to mention about the services that you have available during this time?
I do want to mention that we also have our social engagement programs. So those are just opportunities for people to connect on a social level. You don't even have to mention the word Alzheimer's or dementia. So we have an early stage social club for people in the early stage of Alzheimer's, just to be able to talk with each other again via Zoom. And then we also have programs for people with dementia to participate in with their family members. And we have partnerships with the Detroit Institute of Arts, Henry Ford, the Detroit Zoo, and others. So you're able to do fun activities and build relationships with people on similar journeys, but you're not focusing on dementia all the time. We also have care consultations. So if you feel like you need more than just the 24/7 helpline, you need follow up with a care counselor, we can offer that to you. So you can just call our helpline to set that up, and that's 800-272-3900. And you can call to learn more about any of our resources that we have.
Are there ways that we can support the Alzheimer's Association?
Yes, that is a great question. So we are a nonprofit organization, and we are funded by individual donors. And it's just to provide all of the great services that we offer in your community. So if you're interested in helping, you can always make a donation. You can participate in the Walk to End Alzheimer's. There's no fee to sign up. We are going to be starting our next walk season. Our walks are typically held in late summer, early fall, but it's kind of a year-round effort. And even if are in the position to give financially, just to talk about the resources that we have, that's really what you can do. You can visit our website, alz.org/GMC. You can follow us on social media and just talk to people about what we have to offer, because we really want to spread the word.
All right. Well, thank you so much for telling us all about the Alzheimer's Association and all that you have to offer.
Thank you so much for having me.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.